The gun pressed cold against Sana's temple, but her hands didn't shake as she clutched the mop handle. Lee Seung-jin's voice cut through the warehouse like a blade. Low, lethal, absolute. Let her go. Now. The tremor in his command wasn't anger. It was something far more dangerous. Fear. Sana's dark eyes found his across the concrete expanse, and in that split second, she understood what she'd been too stubborn to admit for weeks. This man, this terrifying, untouchable crime lord who'd walked into her life like a hurricane, wasn't just protecting an employee. He was protecting her. The rival gang members' laugh echoed off the walls. For a cleaning lady, the great Lee Seung-jin has gone soft over some... He never finished the sentence. What happened next would be seared into Sana's memory forever. Not the violence, but the raw desperation in Seung-jin's eyes when he reached her. The way his hands, steady enough to pull a trigger without hesitation, trembled as they cupped her face. "You're mine," he breathed, the words both claim and confession. "And I protect what's mine." But how had they gotten here? Sana Jenkins had learned 3 fundamental truths in her 28 years. Hard work didn't guarantee success, pride didn't pay bills, and the world rarely offered second chances to black women who'd already stumbled once. The 4th truth, that some nights the universe conspired to remind you exactly how far you could fall, revealed itself at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in downtown Chicago. "Third floor's done," Sana muttered into her phone, tucking it between her shoulder and ear as she wrung out the industrial mop. The Hanover Building's marble lobby gleamed under fluorescent lights, reflecting a distorted version of herself. Dark brown skin, natural hair pulled into a functional bun, Navy maintenance uniform that had seen better days. "Copy that." Her supervisor's voice crackled through. "Security flagged the executive suite. Someone's working late. Skip that floor tonight." Sana's grip tightened on the mop handle. The executive suite meant an extra hour's pay she desperately needed. Her daughter Nia's school trip deposit was due Friday, and the electricity bill wasn't going to negotiate itself. "I can work around them." "Not tonight, Jenkins. Those aren't regular executives." The line went dead. Sana stood in the empty lobby, frustration simmering in her chest. She'd worked this building for 6 months, scrubbing floors that cost more per square foot than her entire apartment. She knew every corner, every stain, every shortcut. She also knew desperation made people do foolish things. The elevator ascended silently to the 23rd floor. Sana told herself she'd just do a quick sweep, in and out, unnoticed. The executive suite's double doors stood slightly ajar, warm light spilling into the darkened hallway. Voices drifted out, low, tense, speaking in rapid Korean. Sana's survival instinct screamed at her to leave. Her financial desperation urged her forward. She'd just slip in, clean the visible areas, slip out. She pushed her cart through the doorway as quietly as possible. The conversation stopped. 5 men occupied the vast conference room, but Sana's attention locked on one immediately. He sat at the head of an obsidian table, perfectly still in a way that suggested coiled violence rather than relaxation. Mid-30s, Korean with sharp features that might have been handsome if they weren't currently arranged in an expression of cold calculation. His dark eyes found hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "I'm sorry," Sana said quickly, reverting to the apologetic tone she'd perfected for uncomfortable situations. "I didn't know anyone was still here. I'll come back. You're the night janitor." His English was flawless, accent barely perceptible, voice like smoke over gravel. It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir. I'll just stay." The single word carried absolute authority. Sana's hand froze on her cart handle. "I don't want to interrupt." "You're not interrupting." He leaned back in his chair, studying her with an unsettling focus. "You're providing excellent cover for a business meeting. No one suspects anything happening in a room with maintenance personnel present." One of the other men spoke in Korean, urgent, questioning. The man at the table responded without breaking eye contact with Sana, his tone brooking no argument. "What's your name?" he asked her. Every instinct told Sana this was wrong. These weren't normal executives. The tattoo barely visible above his collar, The way the other men deferred to him, the tension crackling through the room. This was danger wearing expensive suits. Sana. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Sana Jenkins. Sana. He repeated it, like he was testing how it felt. Beautiful name. West African. Swahili, she corrected automatically, then wondered why she was having this conversation at all. His lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but close. Meaning? Art, or work of art. Fitting. The compliment landed unexpectedly, and Sana felt heat rise in her cheeks. She grabbed her cleaning supplies with more force than necessary. I'll just work quietly. You won't even know I'm here. I doubt that's possible. Sana ignored him, focusing on the expansive windows that overlooked Chicago's glittering skyline. She sprayed glass cleaner with deliberate precision, trying to tune out the resumed conversation in Korean. She couldn't understand the words, but she understood tone. They were discussing something serious, possibly dangerous. Numbers were mentioned repeatedly. Territory, consequences. She worked methodically, keeping her head down, trying to become invisible. You're very thorough. Sana, startled. The man had moved silently, now standing near the windows, watching her work. Just doing my job, sir. Lee, he said. Lee Sung-jin. She nodded politely, not sure what response he expected. How long have you worked here, Sana? 6 months. And before that? The question felt too personal, but something in his gaze suggested he already knew the answer, or would find out regardless. I was an office manager. The company downsized. I had bills to pay. Family? That's personal. His eyebrow lifted slightly. Surprise or amusement? She couldn't tell. Most people don't speak to me that way. Most people aren't trying to clean around your business meeting at midnight, Sana countered, before she could stop herself. The silence stretched. Sana's heart hammered. She'd just snapped at someone who radiated danger like other people radiated cologne. Then Lee Sung-jin laughed. It was brief, rusty, like he didn't use the sound often, but it transformed his face completely, made him look younger, almost approachable. Fair point. He studied her for another moment. You're not afraid of me. Should I be? Most people are. I'm too tired to be afraid, Sana said honestly. I've worked 3 jobs before, survived worse than intimidating men in expensive suits. Something shifted in his expression, calculation giving way to genuine curiosity. 3 jobs? 2 now. This one and weekend shifts at a diner in Bronzeville. That's what I need to do, Sana finished firmly. We all make our choices. One of the other men called out in Korean. Urgent. Warning. Lee Sung-jin's attention snapped away from her instantly, his entire demeanor changing. The brief moment of humanity vanished, replaced by cold command. He barked orders in Korean. The other men moved quickly, gathering documents, shutting laptops. You need to leave, Lee Sung-jin told Sana without looking at her. Now. I'm not finished. Now, Sana. The way he said her name, sharp with urgency rather than authority, made her grab her cart immediately. Something was wrong. The air itself felt charged with approaching danger. She was halfway to the door when the elevator chimed. Everyone froze. Back room, Lee Sung-jin ordered quietly. Take her. Hands gripped Sana's arms, not rough, but firm. She was pulled through a side door into what looked like a private office, her cart abandoned in the conference room. What's happening? She whispered to the man guarding the door, young Korean, looking almost as nervous as she felt. Rival organization, he breathed. You weren't supposed to be here. Through the crack in the door, Sana watched Lee Sung-jin face the newcomers. 6 men wearing different colored suits, but the same predatory expressions. The conversation was in Korean, but the tension needed no translation. Then one word cut through. Clear, sharp, dangerous. Jenkins. Sana's blood went cold. They were talking about her. Lee Sung-jin's response was low, controlled, but his hands had curled into fists at his sides. The rival leader laughed, said something else in Korean, then turned toward the side office. Don't move, the young guard whispered urgently. But Sana saw the rival approaching, saw the gun suddenly in his hand, saw the calculation in his eyes, and understood with perfect clarity that she'd walked into something far more dangerous than a late-night business meeting. She'd walked into a war, and somehow, impossibly, she'd just become a piece on the board. The standoff lasted exactly 47 seconds, but Sana would remember each one with crystal clarity for the rest of her life. Lee Seung-jin moved with controlled precision, positioning himself between Sana and the rival gang members. His voice remained steady, conversational even, but his body language screamed threat. The rival leader, older, scarred, radiating casual menace, smiled like he'd just won something. "Interesting," he said in accented English, clearly for Sana's benefit. "Lee Seung-jin protecting cleaning lady. Very interesting. She's an innocent civilian who happened to be doing her job," Seung-jin replied coolly. "This has nothing to do with her. Everything in this building tonight has to do with our negotiation." The rival's eyes swept over Sana with calculated assessment. "Pretty thing, strong spirit, I can see it. Would be shame if something happened." Sana's fingernails bit into her palms. She'd grown up in Englewood, survived the Chicago public school system, raised a daughter alone after her ex disappeared. She knew predators when she saw them. "Nothing's going to happen to her," Seung-jin said, and something in his tone made the temperature drop 10 degrees. "Because you're going to leave. Now. Or what? You start war over cleaning lady?" The silence stretched like a wire pulled taut. Then Seung-jin spoke in Korean, just 3 words, but they hit like grenades. The rival's smirk faltered. His men shifted uncomfortably. Whatever Seung-jin had said, it changed the calculus. The rival leader stared at him for a long moment, then laughed. Short, humorless. "We will talk again, Lee Seung-jin. Soon." They left as quickly as they'd arrived. The elevator doors closed with a soft chime that sounded absurdly normal after the tension. Sana realized she'd been holding her breath. "Are you hurt?" Seung-jin turned to her immediately, his sharp gaze scanning for injury. "I'm fine. What just—" "You need to leave this building. Tonight. Don't come back." The words hit harder than Sana expected. "This is my job. I'll arrange compensation, 6 months' salary." Sana's pride flared hot and immediate. "I don't want your money. I want to work." "That's not—" Seung-jin stopped, visibly controlling his frustration. "You don't understand what you walked into tonight." "Then explain it to me." "I can't. Won't," Sana corrected sharply. "There's a difference." They stared at each other, her defiant, him conflicted. His associates watched with barely concealed shock, like they'd never seen anyone challenge him before. "Miss Jenkins," Seung-jin said carefully, "I'm trying to protect you." "From what? Who are you people?" One of his men spoke rapidly in Korean. Seung-jin responded with a sharp gesture. "Not now. You should go home," he told Sana. "I'll have someone drive you. I have a car. I'll have someone follow you then to make sure you arrive safely. I've been getting home safely for 28 years without bodyguards." Seung-jin's jaw tightened. That was before the park organization knew your name. The casual way he said it, like it explained everything, made Sana's stomach turn. "I'm nobody to them. I'm just—" "You're someone I protected." His eyes held hers with uncomfortable intensity. "That makes you valuable. That makes you a target." The weight of that settled over Sana like a wet blanket. One random Tuesday night, one decision to clean a floor she should have skipped, and suddenly her life had complications she couldn't afford. "So what am I supposed to do? Quit? Hide?" "Temporarily, yes. I have a daughter." The words came out sharper than intended. "I have rent, bills, responsibilities. I don't have the luxury of hiding." Something flickered across Seung-jin's expression. Surprise, maybe respect. "You have a daughter?" It wasn't a question, but Sana answered anyway. "Nia, she's 8. And she needs her mother to keep working, keep providing, keep being present, not disappear because of some gang politics I don't even understand." The room fell completely silent. Seung-jin studied her for a long moment, and Sana could practically see the calculations running behind his eyes. "How much do you make here monthly?" "That's—" "Answer the question." His commanding tone should have irritated her, but something in his focus suggested this wasn't casual curiosity. 2,200 at this job, another 1,800 at the diner. Not enough for Chicago rent and raising a child. It wasn't. Sana knew it, the universe knew it, But hearing this dangerous stranger state it so baldly made her defensive instincts flare. "I manage. You shouldn't have to just manage." Sungjin pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. "I'm offering you a position. I don't want private cleaner, one client only, my penthouse in Gold Coast." He looked up, meeting her skeptical gaze. 8,000 monthly. Day shift 8 to 4. Weekends off. Sana's breath caught. 8,000 was more than double her current income. It was stability, breathing room, the ability to actually save money. It was also too good to be true. "Why would you pay someone 8,000 to clean your apartment?" "Because I need someone I can trust. Someone who proved tonight she can keep her head in dangerous situations." His expression softened, almost imperceptibly. "Someone who puts her daughter first. You don't know anything about me. I know you work 2 jobs, support a child alone, and spoke your mind to a room full of dangerous men because you were too exhausted to be afraid." One corner of his mouth lifted slightly. "That's enough." One of his associates spoke urgently in Korean, clearly objecting. Sungjin responded with quiet authority, his tone making it clear the discussion was over. "Think about it," he told Sana, extending a business card. "Heavy stock, minimalist design, just a name and number. You have 48 hours to decide." Sana took the card automatically, her mind spinning. This was insane. She'd just met this man, witnessed what was clearly criminal activity, been threatened by a rival gang. The smart choice was obvious. Refuse, keep her distance, maintain her simple if difficult life. But 8,000 monthly would change everything. Dance lessons for Nia instead of just dreaming about them, catching up on the medical bills from last year's emergency room visit, maybe even saving for a future that didn't require working until she collapsed. "I need to think about it," she said finally. "Of course." Sungjin gestured to one of his men. "Junho will escort you to your car and drive behind you to ensure you arrive safely." "That's really not necessary. Miss Jenkins." His eyes held hers with unmistakable intensity. "After tonight, the park organization may be watching you. Until this situation resolves, you're under my protection. That's not negotiable." The possessive edge in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it stirred something complicated. Frustration, curiosity, and against all logic, a flutter of something she refused to name. "Fine," Sana conceded, too exhausted to argue. "But just tonight." Sungjin's slight smile suggested he knew she was lying to herself. The young man named Junho led her to the elevator, maintaining respectful distance. As the doors began to close, Sana caught one last glimpse of Lee Sungjin, standing in the conference room like a king surveying his territory, eyes following her with an expression she couldn't quite read. The elevator descended, and Sana stared at the business card in her hand. She should throw it away, should forget this entire night, should run as far from Lee Seung-jin and his dangerous world as possible. But as she drove home through Chicago's late-night streets, a black sedan maintaining careful distance behind her, Sana Jenkins already knew the truth. She was going to call that number. Not because she was drawn to danger or intrigued by a mysterious crime lord or desperate for financial security, though all those things were true. She was going to call because for the first time in years, someone had looked at her and seen more than just a struggling single mother trying to survive. He'd seen someone worth protecting. And God help her, that recognition had awakened something in her heart she thought had died long ago. Hope. Sana stared at the penthouse address on her phone, then up at the gleaming Gold Coast high-rise that pierced Chicago's skyline like a steel needle. This was a mistake. She'd known it was a mistake when she called the number on Lee Seung-jin's card. Known it when she gave her 2 weeks' notice at both jobs, though the look of relief on her supervisor's face at the Hanover building suggested they'd already heard about Tuesday night's incident. Known it when she'd explained to 8-year-old Naya that Mommy had a new job that paid better but required complete discretion. "What's discretion?" Nia had asked, her dark eyes curious over her bowl of cereal. "It means we don't talk about Mommy's work with other people," Sana had explained carefully. "It's private." Now, standing in the marble lobby where the doorman had greeted her by name, Sana wondered what exactly she was walking into. The elevator to the penthouse required a key card. The doorman had provided one with a practiced smile that suggested he'd seen many people make this same nervous journey. 43 floors later, the doors opened directly into Lee Seung-jin's home. Sana had expected opulence. What she hadn't expected was the understated elegance. Clean lines, minimal furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing Lake Michigan's endless blue. Korean art hung on white walls, subtle and exquisite. The space felt more like a high-end gallery than a lived-in home. Miss Jenkins. Sana turned to find Seung-jin emerging from what appeared to be a home office, dressed more casually than she'd seen him. Black slacks, white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing strong forearms marked with subtle tattoos. She shouldn't have noticed. Definitely shouldn't have felt her pulse quicken. "Mr. Lee," she responded professionally, clutching her bag of cleaning supplies like a shield. "Just Lee is fine when we're here." He gestured around the penthouse. "I'll show you everything today. Cleaning schedule is flexible, whatever works best for you. You're staying?" Sana had assumed he'd leave her to work, like most clients. "Today, yes. To answer questions, explain my preferences." His dark eyes held hers steadily. "And to make sure you're comfortable." The consideration caught her off guard. Most wealthy clients treated housekeepers like appliances. Functional, forgettable, easily replaced. Lee Seung-jin was watching her like she mattered. "I've been cleaning for 6 months, Sana said, more defensively than intended. "I know what I'm doing." "I don't doubt that." He moved toward the kitchen, all marble countertops and stainless steel appliances that looked barely used. "But this situation is different. Because you're paying me 4 times what a housekeeper normally makes. Because I trust you in my private space." He pulled out 2 bottles of water from the refrigerator, offering her one. "That's not something I give easily." Sana accepted the water, hyper-aware of his proximity in the vast kitchen. He smelled like expensive cologne and something else, something clean and distinctly masculine. "Focus," she ordered herself. "This is a job. Just a job." "I won't touch anything personal," she said firmly. "Won't move papers, won't go through belongings. You have my word." Something flickered across his expression. Approval, maybe relief. "I know." He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, and Sana fought not to notice how the position emphasized his broad shoulders. "That's why you're here." "Because I'm trustworthy? Or because I witnessed your midnight business meeting?" The directness made his eyebrows lift slightly. "Both. And because you stood up to me when most people wouldn't dare. I wasn't trying to be brave. I was trying to do my job." "Exactly." His gaze held hers with uncomfortable intensity. "You have integrity, Sana Jenkins. That's rare in my world." The use of her first name shouldn't have affected her, but his accent wrapped around it differently than anyone else's, made it sound like something precious. "Your world being—" She let the question hang deliberately. "Complicated." Lee pushed away from the counter, breaking the charged moment. "Let me show you the rest of the penthouse." He led her through rooms that felt more like showpieces than living spaces. Master bedroom with a bed large enough for 4 people, barely disturbed. Guest rooms that had clearly never seen guests. A home gym that actually showed signs of use, weights neatly racked, boxing bag in the corner showing wear. "You box?" Sana asked before she could stop herself. "Muay Thai, actually, and some traditional Korean martial arts." He glanced at her with something that might have been amusement. "Surprised? Should I be? Most people assume I just give orders and let others do the physical work. Most people probably haven't seen you move," Sana said, then immediately regretted the observation, because she had noticed. The way he'd positioned himself as a shield between her and danger, the controlled precision of every gesture, the contained power that radiated from him, even in stillness. Lee's expression shifted, something darker, more intense entering his eyes. "You're very observant." "Survival skill," Sana replied, trying to sound casual. "You learn to read people when you're a single black mother working night jobs in Chicago." The raw honesty hung between them. Sana expected him to gloss over it, change the subject, do what most wealthy people did when confronted with life's harsh realities. Instead, Lee leaned against the doorframe and asked quietly, "Where's your daughter's father?" "Gone. 3 years now." Sana met his gaze steadily. refusing to show the old hurt. Left when he realized fatherhood required actual responsibility. His loss. The simple statement, delivered with complete sincerity, hit harder than elaborate sympathy. Yeah, Sana agreed softly. It was. They stood in silence for a moment, something unspoken shifting in the air between them. Lee's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his entire demeanor changed, warmth replaced by cold calculation. I need to take this. He moved toward his office, then paused. Make yourself at home. Take your time exploring. I'll be an hour, maybe 2. The door closed behind him, and Sana heard the shift to rapid Korean, low, tense, commanding. She should start cleaning. That's what she was being paid for. Instead, she found herself drawn to the floor-to-ceiling windows, staring out at the lake stretching endlessly toward the horizon. From up here, Chicago looked beautiful, manageable, nothing like the grinding struggle of street-level existence. Pretty view, huh? Sana startled. A young Korean man stood in the penthouse entrance, the same one from the Hanover building. Junho, she remembered. I didn't hear you come in. That's kind of the point of my job. He offered a friendly smile. I'm on security detail today. Don't mind me. Just making sure nobody unexpected shows up. Does that happen often? Unexpected visitors? Junho's smile faded slightly. Often enough. Before Sana could ask what that meant, Lee emerged from his office, his expression dark. He and Junho exchanged rapid Korean. Junho's body language shifted. Alert. Ready. Problem? Sana asked, though she already knew the answer. Lee's eyes found hers, and she saw something there that made her pulse jump. Not just concern, but something far more personal. The park organization is making moves, he said carefully. Nothing for you to worry about, but I'm increasing security around you and your daughter. Around? No. Absolutely not. Sana's voice sharpened. You're not dragging Nia into this. I'm not dragging her into anything. I'm protecting her from people who might use her to get to me. He moved closer, and Sana caught the scent of his cologne again. They know you work for me now. That makes both of you points of leverage. The reality settled over Sana like ice water. She'd taken this job for financial security, but she'd actually put her daughter in more danger than before. I need to quit. No. The single word carried absolute authority. You can't just... If you quit now, they'll assume you know something valuable. That makes you more of a target, not less. Lee's gaze held hers intently. The safest thing for both of you is to continue as normal while I handle the park situation. And how long will that take? I don't know, he admitted, and the honesty felt significant. But I promise you, Sana, I will keep you and your daughter safe. Why? The question burst out before she could stop it. Why does this matter so much to you? I'm just a housekeeper you met 48 hours ago. Lee stepped closer, close enough that Sana could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the way his jaw tightened. Because from the moment you walked into that conference room without fear, refusing to be intimidated or dismissed or diminished, he stopped, visibly reining himself in. You matter, Sana, whether you believe it or not. The words hit her like a physical force, awakening feelings she'd buried for years under the weight of survival. I need to get to work, she said shakily, stepping back from whatever dangerous thing was crackling between them. Lee nodded slowly, but his eyes promised the conversation wasn't over. As Sana cleaned the penthouse that afternoon, hyper-aware of Lee's presence in his office and Junho stationed by the door, she couldn't escape the terrifying realization taking root in her heart. This wasn't just a job anymore, and Lee Sung-jin wasn't just her employer. He was quickly becoming something far more dangerous, someone she was beginning to trust. The lie unraveled on a Wednesday afternoon, while Sana was reorganizing Lee's bookshelf, a task he hadn't requested, but she'd noticed needed doing. Her phone buzzed. Nia's school number. Sana's heart dropped instantly to her stomach. Schools only called for bad reasons. Miss Jenkins. The principal's voice was professionally calm, which somehow made it worse. There's been an incident. Nia is fine, but there was a man outside the school asking questions about her during recess. The world tilted sideways. What kind of questions? About her schedule, what time she's picked up, whether she has siblings. Our security team intervened immediately, but we thought you should know. The description matches." The principal hesitated. "It matches someone who's been flagged by police as potentially connected to organized crime." Sana barely heard the rest. She was already grabbing her keys, her bag, moving toward the door. Lee emerged from his office, instantly alert. "What's wrong?" Someone was at Nia's school asking about her. His expression went from concern to lethal in half a heartbeat. "Jun-ho!" he barked. The security guard materialized instantly. Lee rattled off Korean too rapid for Sana to catch, then turned to her. "I'm coming with you. You don't need to—" "They made it about your daughter." His voice was cold steel. "That makes it unforgivable." They rode to the school in tense silence, Jun-ho driving while Lee made call after call in Korean, each conversation shorter and sharper than the last. Sana sat rigid, hands clenched, imagining 1,000 different terrible scenarios. The school came into view, brick building, playground empty now, security personnel visible at every entrance. They'd locked down because of her, because of the choice she'd made to work for Lee Seung-jin. The principal met them at the entrance, clearly surprised by Lee's presence but too professional to comment. "Miss Jenkins." "Mr. Lee," he supplied smoothly. "Family friend." The lie came so naturally it hurt. They were led to the office where Nia waited, small and scared in an oversized chair. The moment she saw Sana, her carefully maintained composure cracked. "Mama!" Sana swept her daughter into her arms, breathing in the familiar scent of Nia's hair products and the strawberry soap from this morning. Solid, real, safe. "I've got you, baby. You're okay." "There was a man," Nia whispered against Sana's neck. "He was watching me through the fence. Miss Patterson made everyone come inside fast." Over Nia's head, Sana met Lee's eyes. His expression was carefully neutral, but she saw the rage simmering beneath. Controlled, cold, absolutely deadly. "The security footage caught a clear image," the principal was saying. "We've already filed a police report, but given the nature of the threat, I'd recommend—" "I'll handle it," Lee said quietly. The principal looked at him sharply. "Mr. Lee, this is a matter for law enforcement." "I said I'll handle it." Something in his tone made the principal step back slightly. Sana realized with sudden clarity that Lee Seung-jin was allowing people to see exactly how dangerous he could be, and it was terrifying. "We need to go," Sana said, standing with Nia still in her arms. Her daughter was too big to carry comfortably anymore, but Sana couldn't bring herself to let go. In the car, Nia studied Lee with open curiosity. "Are you Mama's new boss?" "Yes," Lee answered, his voice gentling considerably. "I'm Lee. The one who pays better than the old jobs?" Despite everything, Sana almost smiled. Nia had always been precocious, picking up on details adults thought they'd hidden. "That's right," Lee confirmed. "Mama says you're very private. That means we don't talk about you with other people. Your mama is very smart." Nia considered this, then asked with the blunt honesty of 8-year-olds, "Are you the reason that bad man was at my school?" The car filled with thick silence. Lee met Nia's eyes steadily, treating the question with the seriousness it deserved. "Yes, and I'm very sorry. But I promise you, Nia, nothing like that will ever happen again." "How do you know?" "Because I'm going to make sure of it." Nia studied him for a long moment, then leaned against Sana with the resilience of children who'd already learned life wasn't always safe. "Okay," she said simply. Lee's expression shifted. Surprise, maybe respect for this little girl's courage. They drove to Lee's penthouse instead of Sana's apartment. She should have objected, but the truth was she didn't feel safe going home. Not yet. Not until she understood exactly what threat they were facing. Jun-ho stayed with Nia in the living room, producing a tablet with kids' shows like he'd done this before, while Lee led Sana into his office and closed the door. "Tell me everything," she demanded before he could speak. "No more vague explanations. No more protecting me from information I need. What exactly did I walk into that night?" Lee studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly, a decision made. "The Park Organization is the largest Korean crime syndicate on the North Side," he began. "My organization, the Lee family, controls the South Side and most of the western suburbs. We've maintained an uneasy peace for 3 years, largely through defined territory agreements. Sana's stomach churned, but she forced herself to listen. The meeting you witnessed was a negotiation. The parks want to expand into territory we've controlled for 2 decades. I refused. His jaw tightened. By protecting you that night, I revealed something they've been trying to determine for years. What? Whether I have vulnerabilities, people I care about beyond the organization. Lee's eyes held hers with uncomfortable intensity. You became proof that I do. The implication hit Sana like a physical blow. So they came after Nia to prove they could hurt me, to hurt you. Yes. This is insane. Sana's voice rose despite her efforts to stay calm. I'm nobody to you. I clean your apartment. Why would they think? Because I pay you 4 times the normal rate. Because I had you working day shifts instead of nights. Because I assigned personal security. Lee moved closer, and Sana could see the tension in every line of his body. Because I look at you like you matter. The words hung between them, loaded with meaning neither seemed ready to fully address. This was a mistake, Sana said, but her voice lacked conviction. I need to quit, take Nia, leave Chicago entirely. That won't stop them. Lee's hand caught her arm gently but firmly. Sana, running makes you look guilty, makes them think you know something valuable about our operations. They'd hunt you down eventually. So what's the alternative? Let my daughter be used as leverage in some gang war. The alternative is you trust me. His grip softened, thumb brushing against her wrist in a gesture that felt far more intimate than professional. Let me handle the parks. Let me keep you and Nia safe while I resolve this situation. How? I'm arranging a meeting with Park Min-jae, the organization's head. Face to face, no intermediaries. Lee's expression hardened. Going after children violates every code we live by. Even he wouldn't have ordered it directly. Someone in his organization is trying to start a war. And if you're wrong, if he did order it, then there will be war, Lee said simply. But Nia will be protected. You both will be. I give you my word. Sana wanted to laugh at the absurdity, trusting a crime lord's word to protect her daughter, but when she looked into Lee Sung-jin's dark eyes, she saw absolute conviction. Why? The question came out barely above a whisper. Why do you care so much? Lee's thumb continued its unconscious caress against her wrist, and Sana's traitorous body responded with awareness she couldn't suppress. Because you walked into my world with your head held high, refusing to be diminished or afraid. Because you work 2 jobs. He corrected himself. Worked 2 jobs to give your daughter a better life. Because you're intelligent, resilient, beautiful. He stopped abruptly, as if surprised by his own admission. Sana's breath caught. Lee, I know this is complicated. I know my world is dangerous. That I'm the last person you should trust. His hand slid up to cup her face, the gesture achingly gentle from someone so capable of violence. But the truth is, Sana Jenkins, from the moment you looked at me without fear, I was lost. The confession hung between them, raw and honest and terrifying. Sana should step back, should remember the impossibility of this situation, the danger, the complete insanity of developing feelings for a man whose business card probably had a body count attached. Instead, she leaned into his touch just slightly, just enough to feel the warmth of his palm against her cheek. This is a terrible idea, she whispered. The worst, Lee agreed. My daughter comes first. Always. I know. I respect that. If you can't guarantee her safety, I can, he interrupted firmly. And I will. Whatever it takes, Sana. Whatever it costs. The intensity in his voice made something crack open in Sana's chest. The part she'd carefully walled off after Naya's father left. The part that had stopped believing anyone would ever choose her, protect her, see her as worth the effort. Mama? Nia's voice from outside the office broke the spell. Lee stepped back smoothly, but his eyes promised the conversation wasn't over. Sana opened the door to find her daughter standing there, Junho hovering protectively behind her. Can I have a snack? Nia asked. Mr. Junho said I should ask you first. Of course, baby. Sana forced normalcy into her voice. Let's see what Lee has in his kitchen. As she led Nia away, she felt Lee's gaze following her, heavy with promise and threat, and something far more dangerous than either. She was falling for him. And God help them both, she wasn't sure she wanted to stop. The meeting with Park Min-jae was scheduled for Friday night at a neutral location, a high-end Korean restaurant that doubled as Switzerland for Chicago's criminal organizations. Lee insisted Sana and Nia stay at his penthouse with round-the-clock security. Sana agreed, but only because her apartment building's locks were laughable and Nia's safety trumped her pride. Thursday night, Nia fell asleep in Lee's guest room, decorated in soft greys with blackout curtains that made the space feel like a cocoon. Sana sat on the edge of the bed, stroking her daughter's natural curls, feeling the weight of every decision that had led them here. She looks peaceful. Sana turned to find Lee in the doorway, watching them with an expression she couldn't quite read. She's resilient, Sana said quietly, not wanting to wake Nia. She's had to be. Lee entered silently, moving to stand near the window. I grew up in this world. Violence, territory disputes, the constant calculation of threat and opportunity. His voice was low, contemplative. I thought I understood sacrifice. But watching you with her, seeing what you give up every single day to make sure she feels safe, loved, normal. He shook his head. That's a courage I've never possessed. It's not courage. It's just love. That's more powerful than courage. They stood in silence for a moment, the sleeping child between them serving as both connection and reminder of what was at stake. Tomorrow's meeting, Sana began carefully. What if it goes wrong? It won't. But if it does, then Junho has instructions to take you and Naya directly to a safe house in Wisconsin. New identities are already prepared. Money, documentation, everything you'd need to start over. The careful planning should have reassured her. Instead, it emphasized exactly how dangerous Lee's world truly was. Come with me, he said, extending his hand. Let's talk somewhere she won't hear, if she wakes up. Sana followed him to the penthouse's expansive balcony. Chicago sprawled below them, a constellation of light stretching toward the lake. The May air was mild, carrying hints of the summer to come. Lee leaned against the railing, and Sana noticed the tension in his shoulders, the careful control in every line of his body. You're afraid, she said softly. Not a question. Terrified, he admitted, the honesty clearly costing him. I've faced down rivals, survived assassination attempts, built an empire from the ruins my father left. None of that scared me. His eyes found hers. But the thought of failing you, of something happening to Nia because of me, that terrifies me. Sana moved closer, drawn by the vulnerability he was showing. Why do you do it? Stay in this life? Loyalty. Obligation. My father built this organization. I can't just walk away. His jaw tightened. The people who depend on me, the families we protect in our territory, the balance we maintain that keeps smaller gangs from tearing neighborhoods apart. It matters. But you hate it. Lee's surprise was visible. How did you... I see how you look at the boxing bag in your gym, like you're fighting something. I see how you relax when you're here, away from the business. How you change when you have to make those calls in Korean. Sana's hand found his on the railing, not quite holding, just touching. You're good at it, but it's killing you slowly. The raw accuracy of her observation made Lee's breath catch. I thought I'd made peace with it, he said quietly. Accepted this is who I am, what I was born to be. His hand turned, fingers interlacing with hers. Then you walked into that conference room, and suddenly I wanted... He stopped, struggling with words. I wanted something different, something more. Lee, I know it's impossible. I know my world is too dangerous, too complicated. I know you deserve better than someone who solves problems with violence and intimidation. His thumb traced circles against her palm. But I can't stop wanting you, Sana. Can't stop imagining a different life where I'm not who I am, and you're not running from the danger I bring. Sana's heart hammered against her ribs. Every rational thought screamed at her to step back, maintain boundaries, remember the impossibility of this situation. But her heart, her foolish, hopeful heart, that had been dormant for years, was screaming something entirely different. What if it's not impossible? She heard herself whisper. Lee's eyes widened. What? What if, after you handle this situation, after things settle, what if we tried? The words came faster now, powered by hope she'd thought long dead. You said loyalty keeps you in this life, but what if you found something worth being loyal to outside of it? Sana, I can't just leave. I'm not asking you to abandon everything overnight, but maybe you could start stepping back, training someone to take over, finding a way out that doesn't betray the people depending on you. She moved closer, close enough to feel his warmth. Maybe you could build something different, something better. With you? The question held so much hope it hurt. I'm a single mother who cleans houses for a living, Sana said bluntly. I have trust issues, money problems, and a daughter who needs stability. I'm probably the worst choice you could make. You're the only choice I want to make. The words hit her like a physical force. Before Sana could overthink it, she reached up and pulled Lee down into a kiss. He responded immediately, his hands coming up to frame her face with aching gentleness. The kiss was everything. Desperate and tender, promise and confession. All the words they hadn't said made physical. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lee pressed his forehead to hers. I don't deserve you, he murmured. Probably not, Sana agreed with a shaky laugh. But I don't deserve someone who looks at my daughter like she matters, who protects us like we're precious, who wants to be better than he was born to be. Her hands slid up his chest, feeling his heartbeat. So maybe we're both getting something we don't deserve. Lee's laugh was rough, rusty, but genuine. Tomorrow after the meeting, if I survive. When you survive, Sana corrected firmly. When I survive, he amended. Something like wonder in his voice. Can I take you to dinner? Somewhere normal, not connected to business, just you and me. What about Nia? Junho loves kids. He'll watch her. The casual way he'd already considered her daughter's needs made Sana's chest tighten. Okay, she whispered. It's a date. They stood there on the balcony, wrapped in each other's arms, Chicago glittering below them like a promise. Sana knew tomorrow could change everything. The meeting could go wrong. Violence could erupt. The careful balance Lee described could shatter, but for tonight she let herself believe in impossible things. Let herself believe that a cleaning lady from Englewood and a Korean crime lord could somehow build something real. Let herself believe in second chances. Friday passed in excruciating slowness. Lee left at 7, dressed in a perfect black suit, looking every inch the powerful leader he was. He'd cupped Sana's face before leaving, kissed her forehead with aching tenderness, then crouched down to Nia's level. Take care of your mom tonight, okay? Okay, Nia had agreed solemnly. You take care of you. Lee's smile had been brief, but genuine. Deal. Now it was 9:30, and Sana paced the penthouse while Nia slept. Junho sat in the corner, phone in hand, face carefully neutral. He's fine, Junho said finally, clearly tired of watching her wear a path in the expensive flooring. If something had gone wrong, we would have heard by now. Sana wanted to believe that. The penthouse door opened. Sana's heart stopped as Lee entered, shirt partially unbuttoned, hair slightly disheveled, but whole, alive, unharmed. Their eyes met across the space. It's done, he said simply. Park Min-jae confirmed he never authorized the school approach. One of his subordinates was trying to start a war for personal advancement. Lee's expression hardened slightly. That's been resolved. Sana didn't ask what resolved meant. The threat to you and Nia is over, Lee continued, moving closer. Park personally guaranteed it. If anything happens to either of you, it's grounds for immediate war, and he doesn't want that. Relief hit Sana so hard, her knees nearly buckled. It's really over? It's really over. She crossed the distance between them and kissed him, hard, grateful, overwhelmed. Lee caught her, held her close, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Sana felt safe. I believe we have a dinner date, Lee murmured against her lips. Tomorrow, Sana corrected. Tonight, just hold me. So he did, right there in his living room, while Chicago glittered beyond the windows and Junho quietly excused himself to check on Nia. And for the first time since walking into that conference room 2 weeks ago, Sana Jenkins allowed herself to fully feel what had been building between them, not just attraction or gratitude or circumstantial connection, but something far more powerful, something that felt impossibly, dangerously, wonderfully like love. Years had passed since that first terrifying night, and Sana still marveled at how profoundly life could transform. The penthouse had become home, not just Lee's, but theirs. Nia's artwork covered one previously pristine wall, her laughter echoing through rooms that had been silent for too long. She was 14 now, confident and brilliant, fluent in both English and Korean, navigating two cultures with the ease of someone who'd never known she needed to choose. Lee had stepped back from the organization gradually, carefully, training his younger brother to take over while maintaining just enough presence to ensure stability. These days, he ran legitimate businesses, restaurants, import companies, real estate, built on the foundations his father had laid but stripped of the violence and threat. He was different now, softer. The hard edges hadn't disappeared entirely. Sana suspected they never would, but he smiled more, laughed easier, wore his happiness like armor instead of his intimidation. "Mom, Lee, dinner's ready," Nia's voice called from the kitchen, where she'd been attempting to make bulgogi under Lee's careful instruction. The domesticity of it still sometimes caught Sana off guard. This powerful man patiently teaching her daughter to cook, speaking Korean interspersed with English, treating Nia like his own, because she was. In every way that mattered, Lee Seung-jin had become Nia's father. Sana joined them in the kitchen, wrapping her arms around Lee from behind as he corrected Nia's knife technique with gentle precision. "Perfect," he was saying. "Now the marinade." He caught Sana's reflection in the window and turned, pulling her close, kissing her temple with casual affection that still made her heart flutter. "I love you," Sana whispered against his chest. "I love you too." His arms tightened around her. "Both of you. Always." Nia rolled her eyes with the practiced exasperation of teenagers everywhere, but her smile betrayed her. This was family. Chosen, built from impossible circumstances, forged through danger and trust and love that refused to be denied. "You're mine," Lee murmured, echoing words he'd spoken years ago in a warehouse, except now they held different meaning. Not possession, but promise. Forever.